This is AP Calculus 5.1 through 5.4 Review, problem number 6. The question says to use part 1 of the fundamental theorem of calculus to find the derivative of the given function. So this is one of those situations where fundamental theorem of calculus part 1 is pretty easy to use, but of course I've given you a problem where you have a composition or a function within a function. So this one is going to require a little u substitution because of the fact that when you take the derivative, you need to use the chain rule. All right, so the most important thing that I want to stress on this problem is that you use correct notation because that is what I'm going to be looking for on the test. All right, so we start out by saying that we know that if g of x is equal to this given interval, then g prime of x, so the derivative of g of x, is going to be equal to the derivative with respect to x of that integral. All right, so again, the issue here is that we don't just have x up here as our upper limit of integration, we have a function of x, which is sine x. So now at this point, we are going to say, well, let's let u be equal to sine x. And we know that later in the problem, we're going to need the derivative of u. You can either call it du dx, or you can call it u prime. I'll write it both, du dx, which is equal to u prime, same thing, is going to be equal to the derivative of sine, which we know is cos x. All right, so then I am now changing my limits of integration to be in terms of u. So now my g prime of x is going to be equal to the derivative with respect to u of the integral from -5 to u of my t cos t cubed, doesn't change, dt. But then I know that because of the chain rule, I have to multiply by the derivative of u, which again, you could either write as du dx or you could write as u prime. It doesn't matter, either one is correct. But since I use d du, I'm going to use du dx. I'm just going to keep it in Leibniz notation. All right, so now simplifying this, g prime of x is going to be equal to, so now what do I do now? I'm using the fundamental theorem of calculus part 1. So I'm just plugging u in for t in my function. So it's going to be u times the cosine of u cubed times my du dx, or my u prime. And when I go ahead and I plug what u is back in, I end up with g prime of x is equal to sine x times cosine of sine cubed of x, because remember, sine x cubed is actually written as sine cubed of x. And then u prime, or du dx, is equal to cosine x. So this is the derivative of my integral, or the derivative of g of x.